Welcome to another episode of Insurance Gone Wild. I'm your host, Dennis Settlemoir, and my co-host is
Stephanie Lencioni.
Stephanie Lencioni.
Yes.
I got it, didn't I?
I know, it's every time. Yeah.
I got it.
It doesn't matter. Again, fast forward through the first 30 seconds if you don't want to hear this spiel every time.
Every time.
If it doesn't happen, it's like we're not even podcasting.
It doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel right. Well, today we're going to talk a little bit about... What are we going to talk about today?
We do. So it's quite honestly not really insurance related, but it is again. Sure. Well, yes. The whole thing is the whole idea of this podcast is consumer based, right? Like, how do we help the consumer?
Correct.
And so it's kind of a play and a continuation off of, hey, you've gotten life insurance. Mm-hmm. Great job. But now, does anybody know that you have a life insurance policy? Does anyone outside of your spouse, if you guys got it together, but then God forbid something happens to both of you at the same time, what is your plan for how to communicate and how to basically have life continue when something bad when and if something bad happens? And there are a couple different things, and there's obviously death. We talk about life insurance, there's death, but there are plenty of policies that also have living benefits and different things. But many times it can be based on an illness. And so now you're laid up in a hospital, or you're in a rehab facility, or you're here, or you're there, or whatever the case is. Or even if you are able to go back home, I have to tell you, the last thing that's probably on your mind is, I need to pay my electric bill. So depending on how catastrophic this is, do you have stuff in place to allow life to continue? And what if there are other people? So you may be at a rehab facility, but do you have children? Do you have other people at the home and they aren't necessarily a part of the finances? Or even if they are, I have to tell you, I don't deal with the electric bill. That's not my job. It's not that I don't know how much it is, or I don't know how much money I'm a part of the finances, but paying the electric bill, that's not my job. Shopping electric companies, not my job. That in my household is a blue job. And that's Brian all the way, baby. But I'm not checking in with him all the time. Like, excuse me, so how much was it and where is it and no. But if something were to happen to him, could I log on and make sure I still have electricity?
You don't have it set up on auto pay?
Okay, so actually, no, we don't.
Well,
an electric bill? No, because you got to fight that sometimes where you're like, what the hell is this? This is $600. But no, we don't have auto pay on our electric bill. We do review it and then we pay it.
All right.
But your internet is auto pay. Our security system is auto pay. Our mortgage is auto pay. So there are a lot of auto pays. Yes. But those are kind of your fixed, anything that's fixed is usually on auto pay. But the variable stuff we look at.
But I bring that up as a question. Obviously, I was teasing you, but
yeah, I didn't like it.
The thing is that even if it's on auto pay, it's on auto pay, you got to make sure they're still getting paid, right?
Okay, so
you know what I'm getting at?
No, absolutely. So I'll go with
if you're the breadwinner. And all of a sudden now you're in the hospital and you're unable to work, and maybe you run out of benefits at work, or you don't have short-term or long-term disability, or you're in a coma or whatever it may be, somebody's still got to figure that out, right? So, yeah, and I'm going to go a step further than that as far as, yes, making sure it still gets paid. Mm-hmm. And the other part, though, is... how do I change it? Where do I even go to access the bill and the invoice, opposed to I have this money coming out and I have no idea how to even access the account? So both things, right? Primary objective, got to make sure stuff is paid. Secondary is, have you set something up? Do you have a system in the household to say, if this, then so-and-so knows how to access and make sure everything stays good, or contract goes up, and I understand it's kind of getting in the weeds with things, and it's not a fun conversation, and then things constantly change. So what my husband and I do is we have a shared document, and then in that way it's not
a printed copy. It's not anything that can get lost in a fire. It's not, but it's just a little like Google Doc, Google Sheets, right? And we have all of our accounts. We have this, we have that. What are they? And then passwords, username, passwords. And then we've shared it with the people where if God forbid something happens, then they know where to go.
Yeah, I think that's the key, is having it somewhere where multiple people can access it, the people that you want to access it, be able to access it.
Yeah, we haven't like put it on the black web.
Well,
right.
No.
The dark web. The dark web.
Dark web.
Black market, dark web.
Yeah.
It's whatever.
So I know that, I've been through this a little bit with my dad passed away when he was 48. And fortunately, my mom handled most of the bills, and my dad worked all the time.
Right.
And but there were still things that she didn't know. We had to figure out. Also, I've had other people pass away where they've come to me, hey, how do we find this out? How do we find out? One of them is life insurance. Hey, we know we had a life policy. We just don't know where it was. We don't know who it's with. We don't know where it is. We don't know how much it is. And so, that is those are hard conversations to have.
They're not fun. If you do it beforehand, it's not like it's like, let's have date night and talk about when we die unexpectedly. Like, no,
exactly. Those aren't fun conversations.
But it has to be done.
Or even with, we're part of the what you would call the sandwich generation. Kids living at home, parents living with. We're part of the sandwich. So
I've never heard that.
Really, that's a very big term. So
apparently I don't get out much.
You got to read a little bit more often.
But it does make me hungry.
So
there's
But that's what it's called. We're sandwiched in between two generations. We're part of that. It's okay. I mean, there's no problem with it. But one of the things that we had a discussion with the parents was, we didn't know where all your stuff is. I can tell you that with life insurance, there is a website you can go to called, it's content.naic.org. Content.n as in Nancy, AIC.org. And you can look through there, and there is a way to look up to see if somebody had a life insurance policy and what company it was with.
Yep.
And because if they had, and sometimes they had one, didn't even know it. I know when my dad died, my aunt, who was much older than him, kind of raised him.
Yeah.
Because my grandparents, which I never met, died when he was young.
Took a policy out for him.
She took a policy out for him, and when he passed away, she goes, oh, yeah. She knew exactly where hers was. I got this little policy for him. It was like, I don't know, $10,000 or something. And sometimes there's stuff out there like that. And what happens to it? It just goes to the state, and they sit there and they hold on to it until somebody claims it.
Yeah.
And so, there's stuff out there like that. But content.naic.org will, you're going to need their social security number and some other information, but the social's the big thing. And it can go around and look up, there's databases out there for that stuff, and it goes out there and searches them and finds out if there's life insurance out there.
Yeah.
So
no, and that's extremely helpful though, right? But then the question is, hey, if you're outside of the household, like I know my husband's social, my husband does not know mine. Where can he find it?
I know yours. He can just ask me.
Oh, there you go. Ditto, pal. But Connie knows yours, so it's fair. That's fair. Okay, so I'm covered then. So we're good.
You're good. You're good on
Brian
that.
can just sit back and relax until I die.
Yeah, you're good for that.
Perfect.
So.
But there are, some spouses don't even know that.
They don't.
I mean, for crying out loud, there's some where I'm like, and your wife's date of birth? And they're like, I'm like, dude, come on, you're better than that, man.
Yeah, that's what I tell people. Dude, you got to know this one.
Yeah.
If you don't know this one, I'm telling her.
Yeah. And I do tell people, I'm like, oh my God, congratulations. I'll make sure to let your wife know that you knew it right out of the gate.
Right.
Like,
that's right.
Appreciate that.
But there are a lot of things that you really got to plan. You really need to plan ahead. And, and frankly, we could probably get a a trust lawyer or something in here to help talk about those things. And maybe we look at that type of thing, having somebody come on either here in person with us or over
like a Zoom or something
type call that can join us in a deal. Here's the top X number of things you got to look at or you need to think about prior in preparation in case something goes wrong. And sometimes it's a trust, like we have a testamentary trust, which basically means if something happens to me and my wife, everything goes into the trust. We have trustees set up that make sure things get divvied out like we wanted it to. And you can set that up, the divvying out however you want it to be set up.
You can have triggers, you can have this, you can have, all of the things. We have
triggers on ours. And that's something else that I've been asked, hey, what are the tax implications on the life insurance proceeds that I received? Well, talk to your accountant or CPA, but essentially this is sort of the golden rule, is that if somebody, say your parents or spouse owns a life insurance policy and it pays out because
as a
they
death
pass
benefit
away, and you're the beneficiary of it, but they owned it, there's usually no tax implication on life insurance because it's purchased with after tax money. That means that they bought it with money out of their paycheck, essentially. Right. So
the money has already been taxed.
Yes, that's the very simplest way to say it.
Correct.
However, if I own a policy on my mom, I own it, but it's on my mom if she passes away and
you're the beneficiary.
I'm the beneficiary. There could be tax on that because I was not the owner of the policy. She was not the owner of the policy. So you got to check with your CPA to make sure that.
And then how it's written and things like that.
Yes, but generally, if Brian owns a policy on Brian and you own a policy on you, one of you dies, the other one gets the money, there's not going to be a tax implication into your estate.
And who are you hoping goes first, Dennis?
Well, I got to tell you, it depends on the day.
I get that.
It depends on the day. So
ditto. Yeah.
No, that's really kind of how that portion of it works. And so but for the most point, the IRS is not going to tax you on life insurance benefits, especially if you did not own the policy.
Okay.
If somebody else owned it and you were just the beneficiary, you don't have to worry about it too much. But if you did own it,
gets a little dicey.
It could be some taxes on that.
Okay.
So
kind of going full circle back to essentially there are a lot of different ways to protect against, again, what is the saying? Like 2 guarantees in life, death and taxes, right? Maybe
especially
not
death. Especially death.
Legit.
Not necessarily tax. There are people that don't pay taxes.
Sure. So, but the death is no one's getting out alive, right? So we just don't know when.
There's an old Hank Williams. You know who Hank Williams Sr. is?
I do.
He
died very young.
Yeah, he died at 30, I think.
Yeah. Hence the very young.
One of the big songs that he had on the charts at the time of his death was "You'll Never Get Out of This World Alive." That wasn't one of his big hits.
He was right.
He was right. He died in the back of a car on the way to another show.
I didn't realize he was the back of a car.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, when you said that though, I registered
passed
pickup.
Away, yeah, in the back of a car on the way to another show.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah. But essentially, again, it's not always fun conversations.
It's not.
And then especially if we're talking about unexpected, right? The unexpected stuff is the stuff that, I mean, when you're 35 and you've got 2 small children, you and your spouse are talking, and that's not, you don't think you need to have these conversations, but fact of the matter is we don't know when. And so just it's better to be prepared than to not.
I think that's why.
To never need it, right? That's the whole point of insurance in general, is have it to never use it, but it's just peace of mind. Well, and then hopefully you never have to share these passwords with people, or nobody ever has to go into your shared Google Doc.
But if it's life insurance, there's a pretty good chance they're going to have to use it, depending on what kind of life insurance.
If it's term, hopefully you outlive it, right? That's the idea. When you're 35 with 2 small kids, you're probably looking at term situation. Yeah. But if you're, and then as we mature, if you will, then it's different conversations. And some of it, I don't want to say it could be fun, but kind of like Brian and I always talk about like, oh my gosh, well, if this happens, and like everyone's had the, what if you hit the lottery conversation, right? Like it's always a fun one. But it's like, oh my gosh, like why do we work so hard and do all of these things? It's to continue this wealth to pass on and the things. And so it doesn't have to be a terrible conversation is all I'm saying.
Well, to win the lottery, you have to play the lottery, right?
I know. And I have to tell you, I really do think God wants me to win the lottery. I'm just not doing my part. I'm not playing often enough.
Yeah.
So it's on me. It's on me.
Yeah.
But I think he wants me to win.
You think so?
I really do. I feel it in my soul. I really do. I just have to do my part, and I'm not doing that right now, Dennis.
Yeah.
So
I know a lot of people play the lottery. I don't play it.
Yeah.
I think it's,
well, no, but my point to that is
just give me your money, and I'll see if you win back some of it.
Right. Make a claim. We'll see. Roll the dice. No, but it doesn't. Depending on what stage you're in, it doesn't all have to be awful and morbid. It really just make it like a quick business decision. I'm like, hey, okay, great. We've got all of our passwords and you probably have your password saved somewhere. So just put it on something, share it with someone that you trust. And that way, God forbid anything happens, people aren't scrambling because they're already scrambling because something has happened to you.
Absolutely. Don't make it hard for whoever's been left behind.
Correct.
So to speak.
And even if
you're not dead, you're
what if it's cancer? Yeah, you're cancer and you're going through the treatments and you're doing cancer's. It does not discriminate. So it doesn't matter young, old, middle of the road. And it can be a hard treatment process. So yeah, again, this doesn't have to be surrounded by death. It's just a, hey, what if?
We got a few minutes. Here's something that I hear. So you tell me what you think about this.
I will.
You're in an auto accident. It's not your fault. But you got a ton.
You mean like the mower who shot something up at my car?
Yes. God. So you're in a car accident. It's not your fault. Somebody hits you.
Okay.
Doesn't matter if somebody hit you or you hit somebody, but let's say somebody hits you. Here's what I hear. Well, their insurance is going to pay for it.
Oh, good.
Well, that may be true, but it may be a 2 or 3 year battle to get them to pay it. Right?
Yeah, they're not just writing a check on day 2. And like, oh, I'm sorry. Did you have a little Cairo appointment? Here, let me advance that for you.
Yeah. So because sometimes the worse the accident, the more investigation. The more they know they're going to have to pay out, the more they hold on to their money before they write you a check.
Right.
And in the meantime, you got to do what?
Well, and so, but at the same time, and truly from a claim, like standing up for the claims portion of this, the other part is we haven't settled on anything yet. So the worse the accident.
That's what,
no. But the worse the accident, quite honestly, we don't even know what we're settling on.
Correct.
There could be, you don't know the extent of injury yet.
You could have lifelong problems.
And you don't necessarily know that until maybe after 6 months. And so I'm just, and that is where I don't stand up for the claims people too often. Definitely not with roofing. I'll tell you that much right now. But as far as the other stuff goes, and we tried to handle everything very appropriately and honorably and all of the things. We weren't just trying to cut corners, but there with the bodily injury settlements, because we did a ton of those. Like that was a huge part of what I did. But yeah. So, but to your point, so yes, I am completely agreeing with you, but it's because there are so many factors that go into it. There are so many factors.
Yeah, that's the
and it
key.
just elongates and elongates. And then after 2 years, a lawsuit, you have a 2 year, at least in Texas, statute of limitations where you have to file a lawsuit. To file.
Yes.
That's just to file.
Yes, correct.
So that means it's been 2 years. A lawsuit has now been filed and it's still going to be past that. So it's not like, oh, you're expect to check in a week, right? For serious situations.
Yeah, but
that's all.
Even if the insurance company goes, yeah, we're probably going to be liable for that.
Oh, you're still not writing a check right away.
It's right.
Yeah. Exactly. We'll pay for the car and the other things that are settled up. But as far as the injuries and
I think the point is you don't rely on that.
Thank you. Sorry. I got lost in the weeds there, but I just wanted to stand up a little bit and say that there were different things, but no, you can't rely on that money.
You can't rely on that because you don't know what it's going to end up looking like.
And then, yeah, like, oh, I don't need health insurance.
What if your injuries and hospital bills are much more than
the
other
limits?
person's limits?
That you will probably get a check pretty quickly, but it's not going to be for enough.
Exactly. You're going to have to sue the person at that point. And if they don't have any assets, guess what? You can't take their house.
Can't take their car.
Can't take their first car. You might be able to get the second car.
Maybe.
The second house, things like that. But yeah, if it's homesteaded, you ain't getting a house.
Right.
For sure. But yeah, I think that's one of the things.
And then who wants to be in a position to do that? Like, nobody wants to be the person to take somebody's house anyway.
Well,
but you don't also.
Do what you gotta do.
I know, and you also don't want to be wronged by the person who was driving around with minimum limits. So
yeah, so that's why we don't generally write minimum limits is because of little things like that. So I'm not saying we don't have any clients like that, but we are very particular as to when we do that.
Correct.
We have to understand the situation.
Yep.
So, and they have to understand the situation because it's just there's too much out there. But yes, the
but
fact
to your
is,
point,
we
not
really,
bank on that.
I really think this conversation would be great to do even a deeper detailed dive if we had somebody who could come in that works with that kind of stuff and.
Like does the trusts or the
whatever.
Or wills
and there's probably 5, 6, 7, 10 things you got to do, and just that you really need to focus on and have them go through that. I think that would be great for the folks that are listening to have that opportunity to at least understand. Here's a list. Here's why.
Yeah, just do it.
Go do it.
Doesn't have to be a sad thing. Just go do it.
Yeah,
and then it's done.
Yeah.
And then
may be
update accordingly.
A lot of it's not going to cost you anything. Some of it may cost you something if you need to get a will, because here in Texas, you really need a will.
Yeah.
Or a trust or something. You really need that.
If you're getting a legal document, that stuff is going to cost you something.
Yeah, but it's not a ton.
Well, no, in the big scheme of things. But I'm saying even some of these checklist things of saying, hey, where's your Google sheet that you're sharing with, Joe and Schmo, and that God forbid something happens. Like even just getting that together, it doesn't cost you anything. It might take you an hour to pull all the data, but then you have it and it's there and everyone has it.
Everybody has a copy of it.
And then you just update it accordingly, right? Like, oh, well, I don't have Reliant anymore. I have TXU. Okay, cool. Update the password.
Yep.
And whatever, like, okay.
Yep.
So they don't need to know how much your bills are if you're sharing with somebody outside of your household, and which you should. You should obviously have the spouse include, like if you're married, spouses should have that. But there should be another adult outside of the household is what I would recommend.
It's just important because, man, you do not want to be trying to find that stuff. It will be so hard. Like if you need a birth certificate for something, holy moly.
And then you're not the person. If you are the person, it's a pain in the ass. If you're not the person,
correct,
it's damn near impossible.
Yeah, it's hard.
And then you have to, it's brutal.
You got to have death certificates to send in.
But what if they're not dead yet? Exactly. And we're trying to get benefits for something and like disability or this or that. Like, it's brutal. Just while you can.
Then you got to be a POA. You got to get a POA.
Power of attorney.
Which, is another big step. A power of attorney allows you to take over somebody else's decisions or allows somebody else to take over your decisions.
Right.
A POA is what they usually refer to it as. And even if you were to call us and you're the son or daughter of an elderly person and you want to make changes on the policy, you better have a POA because we have to have that so that we don't get in trouble.
Yeah, we can't just change for somebody who's not on the policy. If you just want to make a
payment, insurance company to take money
we'll
all day
take anyone's
long.
Money. That's fantastic.
Not just the agency, but the company will take your money all day long. But if you want to make changes.
And also, my account, if you want to send money, is a routing number. Just kidding.
Her, what do you call it?
Don't even. I don't know where you're going.
No, you don't.
Okay.
Her Zelle name is.
Yes. The Zelle. I will do the Zelle.
Lencioni Wits.
Jesus. I do not do the Venmo. Venmo asked me to send them like upload a copy of my driver's license and
to prove who you were.
Yeah, but not everybody had to do that. And then I saw it and I was like, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
And I'm out on Venmo.
Yeah.
So we don't have it because I'm not real sorry, but I'm not giving you a picture of my driver's license. And I'm sure they can find it themselves. I'm going to make you earn it.
It's public data.
That's fine. Then they can earn it, but I'm not going to upload it. And they're like, no, I'm not. No. Yep. Especially when everyone else was saying they didn't have to.
Yeah.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah. A quick side note is your license number in Texas is public data. So in case you didn't know.
No. A license.
Your driver's license is public data.
A driver's license number is one thing, but that like super long code on the bottom that allows them to change everything. They wanted a picture of it though.
Oh, no.
Front and back.
No.
Thank you. And I'm like, my license number is fine.
You asked
people need that, but like that big long 20-digit whatever thing on the bottom, like that's how you can renew and how you can.
I mean,
you can do a lot with that.
It's all online, If it's the bank, that's different. You can go in and give it to the bank.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm not doing it to Venmo.
Yeah. No. That's anyway, a whole other conversation.
Side note. Okay, go ahead. Wrap us up.
But anyway, that's kind of it. We talked about a number of different things really, and the biggest takeaway, and I think we said it probably 4 or 5 times, was just have all your stuff somewhere. Let somebody else know where it is in the event that something happens to you.
And hope that they never need it.
Whatever it is, then make sure it's somebody else outside the relationship that you trust that can access that stuff in the event something happens to you, and your spouse or significant other. Maybe that's the way to say it in this culture. So have that information readily available. It is so important. I've been through it. She's been through it. It's tough to find all that.
And again, what I would encourage as well is don't make it where they have to go into the home, because what if you don't have access to the home? Again, like what if it's because of a fire?
True.
What if it's because
or you live out of state?
Or absolutely. Like that. So again, that's where I just say that Google Sheet, a Google Doc, something of that nature. Make it online. And again, I don't know, the internet's got all your stuff anyway. So just make a document with your social on there. I know, just whatever. But yeah.
Well, that's it for today. We're going to wrap it up. Thank you guys for joining us for something a little bit different, and hope you got a little bit of information out of it. And again, this is Insurance Gone Wild. You can give us a call at 817-753-0093, or you can email us at contact@igwpodcast.com. We'd love to hear from you and see if you have any questions or any topics you'd like us to talk about. We'd love to do that for you. Thanks again, and look forward to talking to you once more.